Good evening and welcome. I'm glad that each of you is here this evening. For those of you who are joining us online later, I want to invite you to grab a nail and a rock if you have them available to you, as we'll be using them later in the service. If you did not receive a nail as you walked in this evening, I invite you just to raise your hand, and the ushers will bring one around to you. We'll have an opportunity to use that later. These will serve as tactile aids in our worship service. Tonight, we gather to take a journey of faith as we remember Jesus' journey to the cross. On this journey, we'll pass through experiences with the shadows of doubt, denial, abandonment, fear, anger, guilt, and shame. These shadows will each be represented by one of the candles. Along our journey, we will extinguish them as we journey towards the cross. While taking this journey, I invite you to open yourself to the movement of the Holy Spirit and to let it guide your heart and mind in reflection. As you do, focus your thoughts into the nail that is in your hands and place there whatever struggles or past mistakes or regrets God is inviting you to let go of. We begin our evening by recalling Jesus' last meal before his death. It began with bread, a meal shared with friends, and wine, a drink of joy and celebration. Those gathered were a ragtag group of social outcasts, people from different spheres of society and with different ideologies, all gathered together, unified by Christ's love for them and their love for him because he had changed their lives. That night, the air was filled with the energy of visions for the future and hope in their leader, whose greatness they had witnessed firsthand. Our experiences with Jesus are not unlike those with whom he shared his last meal. Our lives, too, have been changed, and we have been moved to share his grace with others. I invite you to please stand as you are able and join together in recalling the joy-filled experience of Christ's presence in your life as we sing "Leaning on the Everlasting Arms."
What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace is mine, leaning on the everlasting arms, leaning
The evening began with a meal. The room was filled with joy and hope. An aura of excitement filled the air. And then he took the bread and broke it. As he sat there at the table with the 12 disciples. As they were eating, he said, "I assure you, one of you will betray me." And deeply saddened, each one said to him, "I'm not the one, am I, Lord?" He replied, "The one who will betray me is the one who dips his hand with me into this bowl. The human one goes to his death just as it is written about him. But how terrible it is for that person who betrays him. It would have been better for him to never have been born." Then Judas, who would betray him, replied, "It's not me, is it, Rabbi?" And Jesus answered, "You have said it." None of us expects to be the one. In the moments of spiritual high, we don't dwell upon the possibility or the inevitability that we will make a mistake, that we will stumble, that we will fail, that we will doubt. But God is aware of the shadow of doubt and our inability to be perfectly unwavering in our faith.
After the meal was over, the group joined in the traditional Passover songs. Then, after singing those songs of praise, they went to the Mount of Olives. There, Jesus said to his disciples, "Tonight you will all fall away because of me. This is because it is written, 'I will hit the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will go off in all directions.' But after I am raised up, I'll go before you to Galilee." Peter replied, "If everyone else stumbles because of you, I'll never stumble." Jesus said to him, "I assure you that before the rooster crows tonight, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said, "Even if I must die alongside you, I won't deny you." And all the disciples said the same thing.
So much had been seen. So much had been witnessed. How could followers of Jesus do anything other than believe? But the shadow was there. Its presence was felt. They were blinded by their own ideals and ideas, lost on their own paths and their own plans, and they were unable to really hear what he was saying. I found myself there before. In that place of denying that denial was even possible. Have you?
Jesus left and made his way to the Mount of Olives, as was his custom, and the disciples followed him. When he arrived, he said to them, "Pray that you won't give in to temptation." He withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down, and prayed. He said, "Father, if it's your will, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not my will, but your will must be done." Then a heavenly angel appeared to him and strengthened him. He was in anguish and prayed even more earnestly. His sweat became like drops of blood falling on the ground. When he got up from praying, he went to the disciples. He found them asleep, overcome by grief. He said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Get up and pray so that you won't give in to temptation."
Denial can shadow our own ability to see what is taking place right in front of us, in front of our own very eyes. Maybe it's something subconscious. Maybe it's apathy. Whatever it is, the shadow hangs there and we're unaware of it. The passion and compassion of Jesus is constant. He cares enough to cry over the state of each person, of me, of you. So why would one expect anything less? Then again, he had to tell the disciples to stay awake. Perhaps his warning to pay attention continues still today. Because it seems to me that the shadow of our abandonment has already been cast.
Then, in the garden, while Jesus was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, came with the mob carrying swords and clubs. They had been sent by the chief priests, legal experts, and elders. His betrayer had given them a sign: "Arrest the man I kiss and take him away under guard." As soon as he got there, Judas said to Jesus, "Rabbi." Then he kissed him. Then they came and grabbed Jesus and arrested him. One of the bystanders drew a sword and struck the high priest's slave and cut off his ear. Jesus responded, "Have you come with swords and clubs to arrest me like an outlaw? Day after day I was with you, teaching in the temple, but you didn't arrest me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled." And all his disciples left him and ran away. One young man, a disciple, was wearing nothing but a linen cloth. They grabbed him, but he left the linen cloth behind and ran away naked. They led Jesus away to the high priest, and all the chief priests, elders, and legal experts gathered. Peter followed him from a distance, right into the high priest's courtyard. He was sitting with the guards, warming himself by the fire. The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for testimony against Jesus in order to put him to death, but they couldn't find any. Many brought false testimony against him, but they contradicted each other. Some stood to offer false witness against him, saying, "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple constructed by humans, and within 3 days I will build another, one not made by humans.'" But their testimonies didn't agree, even on this point. Then the high priest stood up in the middle of the gathering and examined Jesus. "Aren't you going to respond to the testimony these people have brought against you?" But Jesus was silent and didn't answer. Again, the high priest asked, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus said, "I am. And you will see the human one sitting on the right side of the Almighty and coming on the heavenly clouds." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "Why do we need any more witnesses? You've heard his insult against God. What do you think?" They all condemned him. "He deserves to die." Some began to spit on him. Some covered his face and hit him, saying, "Prophecy." Then the guards took him and beat him.
Sing at the judgment hall, beaten but reviled, arraigned. Oh, the wormwood and the gall, oh, the
governor's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's house. And they gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a red military coat on him. And they put a stick in his hand like a scepter. They bowed down in front of him and mocked him. "Hey, King of the Jews!" Afterward, they spit on him, and then they took the stick and they struck his head again and again and again. And when they finished mocking him, they took the military coat off of him, put his own clothes back on. They led him away in order to crucify him. As they were going out, they found Simon, a man from Cyrene, and they forced him to carry the master's cross. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, which means skull place, they gave Jesus wine mixed with vinegar to drink. But after tasting it, he didn't want to drink it. And after they crucified him, they divided up his clothes among them by gambling for them. And they sat there guarding him. And they placed above his head a charge which read, "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." And they crucified him between two outlaws, one on his right side and one on his left. And one mocked him, but the other recognized God's glory in him, and so he called to him, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." As I think upon the nails, as I think upon his sacrifice, as I think upon the shadows of my fear and anger, my guilt and shame, I find myself making the same request. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. My hope is no longer in my own abilities, Lord, in my own strength and power, but in yours. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me.
When it was about noon, darkness covered the whole earth until about 3, for the sun stopped shining. And then the curtain in the sanctuary tore down the middle. Crying out in a loud voice, Jesus said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." After he said this, he breathed for the last time. When the centurion saw what happened, he praised God, saying, "It's really true. This man was righteous." All the crowds who had come together to see this event returned to their homes, beating their chests after seeing what had happened. And everyone who knew him, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance, observing. Am I a stone
Am I a stone and not a sheep? That I can stand, O Christ, beneath thy cross, to number drop by drop thy blood's slow loss, and yet not weep. Not so those women loved who with exceeding grief lamented thee. Not so fallen Peter weeping bitterly. Not so the thief was moved. Not so the sun and moon, which hid their faces in a starless sky, a horror of great darkness at broad noon, I, only I. Yet give not o'er, but seek thy sheep, true shepherd of the flock. Greater than all before us, turn and look once more. I long to be more than lifeless rock.
After the spectacle of the carnage was over, Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate if he could take away the body of Jesus. Joseph was a disciple of Jesus, but a secret one, because he feared the Jewish authorities. Pilate gave him permission, so he came and took the body away. Nicodemus, the one who at first had come to Jesus at night, was there too. He brought a mixture of myrrh and aloe, nearly 75 pounds in all. Following Jewish burial customs, they took Jesus' body and wrapped it with the spices in linen cloths.
What wondrous love
when you are ready, choose one of these rocks, embossed with a cross, to serve as a reminder that you choose to be more than lifeless rock, and to place your trust in the Lord, the cornerstone, our rock and our Redeemer.